the day-to-day, if it's our grandmothers, if it's our children, if it's our brothers and sisters, you know, just help them find ways to, you know, to feel good, to connect with each other, and to create healthy habits.
Miri Polachek, thank you for joining me on this show. Really great to have you.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So great to have you. You know, you going through Boston University, then to NYU Stern, moving on to all these great companies, Teva, Pfizer, as financial analyst, but then going on to brain technology, and now finding yourself at Joy Ventures, and it must be the best name that I can think of for any group or any organization. I would love to be a part of a group called Joy Ventures one day, so you already have my resume on the way.
Awesome.
Miri, give me a little background about what you're doing, because it just sounds fascinating, and take me through your journey a little bit.
Sure. So today what I'm doing is running a really cool, as you said, not only by name, but really cool overall organization, a very unique one called Joy Ventures. So what we do is we focus on the wellness space, consumer products for well-being, and we do so with a very unique model, which is to build, support, and fund companies. So we don't only invest in existing startups, but we also work with innovators and entrepreneurs to actually build startups from scratch. And we even go as deep as academia to actually identify promising research and technology development to work with those folks as well to try to turn those ideas and technologies into products and companies.
So wait, Mary, hold on. I need you to walk me through that process a little bit, because I get this idea of investing in existing companies. Young entrepreneurs come up to you and they say, we have this great idea, we need some support so that we can grow and scale and validate our product. But you're saying you have a different model. It rings a bell to somewhat of what my friends at Team8 are doing. What is this idea of what is this idea of forming a company?
Yeah, so there are some parallels to Team8. So basically, this is a model that is actually becoming quite common in terms of the startup building. So it has many names today in the market, like Startup Studio, Venture Builder. Yeah, those are kind of probably the most popular terms for what we do. And basically what it means is sometimes even if you don't even have an idea yet, or you're really just excited about the space, but perhaps you're an experienced entrepreneur and you're looking for your next challenge, you can come to us or to this kind of organization. Specifically, if you're interested in our domain, you come to Joy, of course. And actually, we've just launched this week our new Entrepreneur in Residence program. Wow. EIRs are common in various species. Here, what we're doing is basically working with a couple of EIRs who just joined this week. They're experienced founders, they've had exits, they've got the methodology down, but now they're going to deep dive into our space and try to either work with our ideas that we've actually, we've built this idea bank through various innovation programs that we've run with our community. So they can either take some of the ideas off of our shelves, or they can just deep dive into market research, be inspired by sort of, their understanding of, the market needs, and then come up with their own idea, and then actually spend 6 to 8 months developing that idea into a mock-up prototype, putting together a business plan, all with our support as needed, and then come to us at the end of their EIR program period, and basically pitch their idea to us, so that hopefully by the end of that period we would be ready to invest and start a company with them.
Wow. Okay. So that sounds incredible. So it sounds like you're really tackling this the part of the validation of the product and the validation of the market through your experience, and I mean, having people that have gone through the journey and have done this sort of validation and this research. I think it's it's priceless. But then the real struggle is then finding the people who are willing to take on this incredible journey for 7 to 9 years, right? And marry and be passionate about the product and marry the company, sort of. So is that, do you find that to be at a similar caliber to the research? How do you go about even evaluating people who are coming in really fresh, or you're looking to match people to a certain idea from this idea bank?
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. It took us actually, I think, close to 6 months recruiting this first cohort of EIRs. We are really looking for a mix, of the right experience, obviously, cultural fit, because they're going to be really part of the Joy team
Right.
for the next 6 to 8 months. So we really wanted to make sure that there was good chemistry, and that we felt that, there was also some basic, connection to our domain. We want people to really be passionate about consumer products, to be passionate about like human-centered, design, and this. Ultimately, when we build companies or support companies, we want to have actually a really strong sort of multidisciplinary team that obviously has to have a really strong, entrepreneur, founder at the helm, but you also obviously want to have, strong tech and strong product, especially since we're in the consumer product space. We really want people who have a good understanding of, market, consumer, trends, and so on.
So one of the things that you mentioned right before this was also this idea of wellness products and products that are that ultimately bring good to the world and promote wellness, promote well-being. What does that mean to you? Give me some tangible examples. What does that mean, thinking about products that are for well-being or for good?
Yeah, so it's funny, and this is maybe a good place to sort of talk about my journey, because
Yes.
I grew up. I was born in Israel. I grew up in Boston. My parents relocated to Boston for work. My dad was in high tech. My mom is a neuroscientist, and actually, that's where my first exposure was to the brain and this fascinating organ, right?
Yep.
That controls our lives. And so from a very young age, this was, part of the kitchen talk, and it was always very inspiring. And I had really great role models. And even to this day, when I'm almost 50 years old, I still talk about, what great models my parents are very often in my interviews.
Amazing.
And so when I went on to study, even though I didn't go into life sciences or technology in my education, I chose economics
Right.
and business. What I found myself, though, really connecting to was the life science industry. And so very quickly, I found myself, going into the pharmaceutical industry, and there I was exposed to many of the, central nervous system illnesses. Both Teva and Pfizer are companies that are very strong in neuroscience, developing products for, things like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, depression,
So it's interesting,
etc.
Miri, because
So
what you're saying here is, you went into these companies as a financial analyst, right? You took your economics and you took your economics degree and you brought that into those companies. Yet what you're describing here, you're not describing your analytical work. You're describing the passion that you've
yeah.
accumulated over the years for the life sciences.
What I found about myself very quickly was that, there are two things that really drive me to an organization and to a position. One is the subject matter. So it doesn't matter if if I'm crunching numbers, or if I'm doing any kind of marketing or management or any kind of role. I really need to connect with the organization's mission. And the second thing is obviously the people, as cliche as that is, connecting with the people that I'm going to be working with. And what made me, stay at any organization for such a long time was really just because I've worked with really smart, inspiring, good people, high integrity people. And so what I found myself, doing was really working in the pharmaceutical industry, learning about not only how to be a good financial manager, but also about, about brain illness, and about how a product, how a drug basically is developed and goes to market. And how it's actually then, marketed and promoted over the product's long life cycle. In the case of innovative pharmaceuticals, and then I also experienced a short time in the non-pharma healthcare industry. I worked for a physician practice management organization, also a very large publicly traded company, SVP Finance. But then when we moved back to Israel, actually 10 years ago, after living in New York for 12 years with my husband, 3 kids who were born there, I found that I really still was very passionate about the life science industry, but that I wanted to really kind of make a shift from big corporate to kind of sensing the, the sort of the more early stage sort of startup nation environment, which is, such a really amazing and unique environment here in Tel Aviv, here in Israel.
Very different from the positions that you've held up until now.
Very different.
SVP at a public company, Pfizer, Teva.
Yeah, extremely different. And as a matter of fact, when I first came back, when I was networking and, no one knew me here really because I hadn't grown up here. I didn't go to the army here. I didn't start my career here. I had spent 12 years in New York, even though I had very, very admirable positions. It's in Israel, obviously people want to see your back. People want to know you, and they want also to see a relevant track record. So when I went and started talking to VCs and startups about joining, they said, well, you've never done this before, so doesn't matter that you have 15 to 20 years experience. You've never raised money. You've never done you've never commercialized or brought a product to market. So that was rough. But really, what happened, and this is the word that I always use, is serendipity. It's one of my favorite words in English, which I don't think you have. We have in Hebrew. Is it was just luck and timing, and I just found out about. I read in the media actually about our former president Shimon Peres announcing that he's going to launch this initiative to drive brain research and technology in Israel, to turn Israel into a leading, brain technology hub. And that vision really resonated with me because obviously neuroscience was like such a big passion for me all those years, as well as, it kind of, the whole concept and the whole vision was really about, about innovation and about startups and about bringing kind of this kind of the brain tech startup ecosystem to the next level, or even creating an ecosystem which really didn't exist. I mean, the different parts of the small Israeli community of brain researchers, entrepreneurs, clinicians, whether it's a neurologist, psychiatrist, neurosurgeons, no one was really talking to each other, and there weren't really investors in Israel looking at this space. So, or at least, they were only looking at it very initially. And what IBT, Israel Brain Technologies, which I ended up establishing with Rafi Gidron and a very famous serial entrepreneur in Israel, and which I led for almost 7 years, what we ended up doing was actually bringing that ecosystem together, breaking down all those silos, and creating programs for that community, including a startup accelerator for brain tech companies, an international brain tech conference, funding for brain researchers, et cetera, to really push that sector forward and really establish Israel as a strong, international brain technology hub. And we really brought lots of important global stakeholders to Israel for that conversation. And so that was a really amazing journey for me because it kind of, in a way, it forced me to kind of, leave the big corporate sort of greenhouse. It was an entrepreneurial venture, even though it was a non-for-profit, but it was really my first startup. It allowed me to keep my passion in life science, in neuroscience, in innovation, but also brought out in me, sort of the more broader leadership, which I before was kind of limited to my financial hat. Now I was, able to really be kind of the evangelist for this organization, to be the person that brings people together, and to really lead all the strategic aspects and, put together this whole operation, which I'm really proud of. It's really, really, to this day, I think it's one of the most really special experiences that I've had professionally, in my career. So, and that brings me at the end to Joy, because what I want to say
Miri, I have so many questions now. I don't even know where to start. Hold on.
We're going to have an extra long episode this time.
I have to know. So, first of all, brain technology, it's a black box to so many people like myself that, it feels like it's such a complicated field that I have to go and study biology and neuroscience, and if I even want to begin to understand what's happening. So dumb it down for me a little bit. What can I be excited about brain technology today? And if we're extrapolating a little bit further ahead, 5-10 years in the future, what are some of the most exciting advances in your mind as to brain technology, and perhaps how it literally can shape our lives? I'm constantly inspired by Nathan and Trator from Tel Aviv University with Neurosteer. That's about the scope of I know and the work he does with.
That's a good place to start.
and still I don't understand anything from what he does. That's why. So I need you to dumb it down for me. Talk to me a little bit about where we're headed.
So I think brain technology can be defined, can be defined and interpreted in a variety of ways. So, you know, some people think of brain technology as only like the type of technology that directly interacts with your brain, like brain computer interface, you know, any type of technologies that either measure your brain waves or your brain activity in some way, or actually influence your brain activity, right? Like brain stimulation, whether it's deep brain, invasive stimulation, or non-invasive brain stimulation. So that's just one piece. But the way I like to think of brain technology is really any kind of technology, any kind of innovation that can really measure or affect our brain state or our brain health. So if you think of technology more broadly, I mean, in a way, it can also be pharmaceuticals, right? That can treat brain illness, but it can also be some kind of app, right? That can somehow, through the various sensors that we have in our phones or wearables, we can, somehow monitor our stress level, or monitor our anxiety level, our mood, depression level. So, there's a startup, there are startups out there that are now, tracking behavioral or mental well-being, right? Companies that have raised hundreds of millions of dollars, like Mindstrong and others that are helping people who are living with mental illness better manage their illness, helping their caregivers and loved ones, be a part of that, caregiving, and make sure that they, that they get just in time sort of alerts if there's something, wrong going on. So it doesn't always necessarily have to be a cure. It doesn't have to be the ultimate, solution for Parkinson's. But if we're doing anything to like improve people's well-being or health, and that kind of brings me to sort of the joy part of brain tech, which, I mean, we don't only do brain tech at Joy, but we're looking at, if most of the years I was involved in companies or organizations that were focused very much on brain illness and kind of trying to find ways to help people who have various types of brain disorders. What we really focus on at Joy is kind of the other side, which is the majority of people around the world, luckily, although these days during COVID, and I'll talk about that in a minute, it's a different story, but, maybe only 1 in 4, are suffering from, it's still a huge number, from mental illness, and there are other statistics related, obviously, to neurodegenerative disorders, but the majority of people at any given moment are just, are generally healthy from a brain perspective, let's say, or from a well-being perspective. They may have other issues, right? We have a lot of big issues in the world regarding chronic disease and heart and obesity and so on. But most people are just dealing with modern life, and that means, stress, and that means poor sleep, and that means, anxiety, and sometimes just feeling down. And all those things are not, they're not diagnosed conditions. They're not described as some kind of illness that you necessarily have to go to get a prescription for, or to start some kind of medical treatment, but we're learning more and more about ourselves, that they really affect our quality of life. So if for the last 20 years people have been really focused on understanding that they need to take care of their bodies through nutrition and physical and exercise, people are becoming more aware in recent years that, okay, I also have to take care of this part of my body, right? I need to make sure that I'm relaxed, that I'm finding ways to kind of like reduce stress and find ways to just improve my daily life, because the stress isn't going anywhere in most cases. I mean, most people can't control, what job. Some people have a choice, but a lot of people are going to be in high stress jobs. They're going to have not only stress at home, at work, they're going to have stress at home, right? The young generation is balancing. I mean, the highest, level of stress today is experienced by the young generations who are balancing work and life, and they're working very intensively. But the good news is that young generation is actually much more aware. They already are embracing technology. They're already, the ones that are trying meditation and yoga and all those things, but they're trying to see if they can find those solutions solutions through their phones or through any kind of gadgets or devices, because they're very tech savvy and digitally,
You
native.
know,
So,
you're mentioning
so
this, and it's funny because I do enjoy taking part in a lot of projects and various opportunities, and oftentimes that goes instead of sleep. And my girlfriend was very angry with me because she's rightfully saying that sleep is one of the most important things, and I'm not even aware of how it's affecting my mind or my body. So I got this ring from with inspiration
is
from.
that Aura?
Yeah, it's an Aura ring. Now she doesn't really allow me
Yeah,
to wear
Aura's
it,
awesome. We
but
love Aura. We
so
love Aura.
I've been wearing it for about 2 weeks in
We
my
had
sleep.
one in the office, but someone lost it. So now we have to order a new one.
So now
We were fighting over it. Everyone was using it. Yeah.
amazing. But now I have to every morning I wake up, I look at my phone, and I realize that okay, it's not that I got 6 hours of sleep, but it's how much quality sleep did I get. And I resonate so much with the thing.
Right.
I resonate so
Right.
much with the things that you're saying about brain technology, and what I had an interesting episode with a friend, Dan Saider from Palo Alto, and he has bipolar disorder. He wrote extensively about it in various tech magazines, he's working on a startup where he's trying to help people combat bipolar disorder by using the webcam of the computer to observe their facial expressions when they're working, not on Zoom when we're all smiling and happy, but in the mundane
Yep.
day-to-day life, to give feedback. And one thing that I've realized, over the past few months here, is that there's just not enough people that are working on these things, not on the illness side of it, and not on the wellness side of it, which is why I think what you're doing at Joy Ventures
Great.
is really, really awesome.
I totally agree. I'm glad you've realized that, because I think there's such a huge ocean of opportunity to innovate, both for people who have more serious suffering. I also have a brother who suffers from mental illness, and that's another reason why it's also close to
Wow.
my heart. And that field of kind of mental illness, desperately needs innovation. And I think, all of the, artificial intelligence and brain-inspired computing and all this great talent also that's out there. Part of my mission has been in the last 10 years, whether at Israel Brain Technologies or at Joy, is to try to get people who come out with these, fabulous degrees from very prestigious institutes. Yeah, so I really would love, more and more people to discover this world of, brain health, brain tech innovation.
What does it take? What does it take for more entrepreneurs to get excited about it? Because I feel, and coming in now from both 8200 and Stanford, I'm getting a sense of, I understand why it's difficult for a lot of people to start, and I think it stems from this perception that while I may be excited about engineering and data science, going into the field of neuroscience, I feel like I need to get a PhD in this in order to just begin to understand what's happening.
So that's not the case. It's really not the case. I think, first of all, find a neuroscientist and partner with them. I mean, there are plenty of neuroscientists out there that would love to use their, knowledge and discoveries in a way that, can help people. So I think it's about, and it's not, doesn't only take place in academia. I mean, there's
Right.
a lot of, great things that can happen. I mentioned all these examples of ways that, ultimately it's understanding what are the pains out there that people have, and just seeing how you can even bring even just kind of off the shelf technology in a way, right? There's so many the reason why we think that it's such a great opportunity today is because not only has science come so far, but technology has come so far that you can do so much today with available technology, just finding a way to make it accessible to people who need it. And there's so many great things that you can do today to influence, our state of mind, whether it's mixed reality, using VR, AR, and EEG is just one part of measuring, but there's so many ways that you can influence. There's so many ways to stimulate our brain, right? We can stimulate ourselves, any of the senses, all of our senses end up, affecting how we feel, right? So it's enough that for you to kind of do some kind of vibration on my wrist, right, and you can help me calm down. You can, it doesn't have to be kind of this deep tech, brain stimulation. Right. It can be just, hey, it can even be just a game. So we look at companies now that are doing really cool games to help kids deal with their emotions.
Amazing.
Train kids from a very young age to be more empathetic, teach them empathy, teach them kindness. So it's about not only kind of feeling good, but it's also making us kind of better people.
Incredible.
And I think as long as, you're the kind of person that wants to also, do something good, and you're really passionate about technology, there's no reason why you can't mix both of those up. And it doesn't mean that doing good is doesn't make money. There's huge markets for all of these types of applications, and it's only growing. If you take maybe my last comment will just be that these days with the global pandemic, it's just unbelievable the impact that it's had on people's emotional well-being and general well-being. I mean, I think there are a lot of people that until now didn't realize or didn't kind of say, oh yeah, I'm also stressed. They kind of always see people around them and, oh, it's not my problem.
Right.
But now there isn't, I think, one person on the planet that hasn't experienced, sort of the stress and anxiety and depression associated with this whole, uncertainty around the, pandemic, whether it's financially driven because, someone is no longer working, or just not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow, the social isolation and all the loneliness that it's causing people, all of those things, I mean, they're manifesting themselves and just accelerating the awareness and the need for solutions to help people cope, with very high levels of stress, lack of sleep, etc. So
Incredible.
anything we can innovate to bring people together through the screens, to help people feel better, to reduce their stress. And it's not just meditation. Meditation isn't for everyone, there's a lot of noise around, meditation through Headspace and Calm, and it's great.
Right.
But, there's so many, not everybody likes it. And it's not the only way to kind of help people, feel good. So we're really putting the call out there for really smart, passionate, techs and entrepreneurs to think about how can technology serve, humanity's, quest for well-being? What kind of products can we develop for consumers? Not people who are, of course, it's important to treat people with brain illness, but at the same time, there's so much opportunity to look at consumers, the day-to-day, if it's our grandmothers, if it's our children, if it's our brothers and sisters, just help them find ways to feel good, to connect with each other, and to create healthy habits.
I love it. So Miri, before we leave, two notes. One, if people have this passion for wellness and for I love what you said, going about solving the human quest for wellness and well-being, and not just about illnesses, but I'm looking at my own grandparents and how there's so little solutions that connect the younger generation to the older generation. It's unbelievable that I'm watching I'm like, as a part of J Ventures, I get to watch, hundreds of different startups come in yearly. So few of them are dealing with these issues that are so prevalent, and they're just growing. I mean, the gap is just increasing every day that goes by. So definitely they should reach out to Joy Ventures, I guess, and I think that you're a perfect address to give them advice and to talk them through their ideas and where we're headed. And the second thing, the last thing that I always love to do is I'm gonna put you on the spot one time during this interview, and I need 3 words that you would use to describe yourself, or that anybody on your team would use to describe yourself, or Rafi, or any of the entrepreneurs that you're helping.
So if it's describing me, I think, optimism is a really big part of who I am. I really believe in the ability to, I really see things in the, with that full, the half full cup.
I love it.
And,
I think
really
that when you work at Joy Ventures, you kind of bring optimism to the table already, just with a name.
Yeah, but it really is who I am. It's not just, on paper. And for me, also another big piece is kind of connecting. So I really love bringing people together. And I think that with innovation and startups, that's also really super important. I think when we deal with innovation, it's not just about one person. It's really about not only going out and kind of talking to people and understanding what are people's pains, but also forming teams and working together. And that's a big passion of mine, is like enabling innovation by connecting people and connecting, organizations and people with different areas of expertise. I guess we have to, because of this conversation we've had, I think we're going to need to put the word brain as the third one, because, brain or brain tech, I think is going to be, another good keyword. So
wonderful. So
yeah,
optimism,
let's go with those.
unity, and brain. I love it. I think it's a wonderful combination. Miri, I can't wait to learn more about what you guys do at Joy Ventures. And it resonates so much because, the reason I came here to Palo Alto after the unit was to understand what are some of the biggest challenges that, technology can help solve. And the more I'm exposed to these ideas, the more passionate I get at them. And definitely I can see myself taking part in this world, in this world that you're surrounded in. And it just sounds fantastic. Miri, thank you for being so generous with your time. Thank you for allowing me to run over, because I enjoyed this interview so much. This is definitely longer than usual, but I just loved every minute of it. So thank you very much.
Well, I enjoyed it too, Michael. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been a real joy, and good luck with this program. It's a really wonderful initiative. I hope you enjoy it too.
Thank you very, very much. Take care.
Take care. All the best. Good health.